Hey there everybody, my name is Keno and welcome back to your San Jose Sharks franchise mode series here on the channel. And I want to quickly say I'm sorry for how long it's been from the time that we uploaded the first one, which you guys absolutely seem to love. The amount of support and likes that we got on that video, and as well as views, incredible. I didn't expect it. I did put a lot of effort into it, so I much appreciate it, but I'm sorry that it's been so long. There's just been a lot going on. I'm currently actually recording this episode from a hotel room while I'm on a training trip for my new job. So yeah, you can expect that maybe things have been a little turbulent. I'm sorry that I have been uploading consistently for the channel recently. I've just been trying to get everything ironed out because I'm about to get to a schedule in a work-life balance that will allow me to record a lot more content and have a lot more time to stream as I originally planned to do back in March. But that's enough about my private life. I'll do a channel update video. It'll be like a short 2-minute video very shortly. But now we are here with the San Jose Sharks, and you guys had only one big concern with that first video, and that was prospect Will Smith. Now, he's currently with the Vancouver Giants on this roster. Usually with US players, I just typically leave them unassigned, but this is a roster that I downloaded and then put a lot of my own work into. I've actually spent the last 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks editing a lot of the things on this roster just to make it a little bit more my own. And then just last night, I kind of said, you know what, I need to get this content going. I need to get this franchise mode started. So it's at a point where I think it's about 85-90% complete, but there's still like 10% of the way that I just don't feel that comfortable with. But it's enough to start this series. But yes, the main feedback you guys gave me on that first video was that Will Smith was too lowly rated, and I agreed completely. He was a Hobie Baker finalist with the NCAA. Macklin Celebrini actually ended up winning that one at 17 years old, if I'm not mistaken. That's the youngest ever, but Will Smith needed some more respect, so I bumped him up to a 79 overall medium elite. He was medium elite before, but I bumped him up, and his individual attributes, as you can see, are very well rounded. He's still like a pretty average skater, I'd say, 85s across the board, but the offensive awareness got bumped up, his stick handling, his puck skills, his defense, everything else got bumped up, so he is ready to jump in the NHL, but it's not going to be this season. It'll probably be next season with the team. And that brings me to another point. That brings me to our current roster. You guys didn't seem to have a problem with anything else I did with the team, including the twist of adding in our superstar 99 overall goaltender Cooper Kodiak. So I've set up the lines the way that I want them, but there's a little bit of a change to the way things are going to be. As you can see, Logan Couture is not in the lineup in the real life 23-24 season. He did miss a hell of a lot of time with injuries, so I do have him with the AHL affiliate now. He's not actually in the lineup there either. But anyways, this is the lineup that we're running with right now. We have Eklund, Granlund, and Zetterlund, with Hoffman, Sturm, and LeBlanc on the second line, Zadina, Kunin, and Barabanov on the third line, Giovanni Smith, Justin Bailey, and Ryan Carpenter on that fourth line. Let me just flip Carpenter and Bailey, but that's the way that's going to look for our forward core for this first season, and I will get into a little bit of a twist in a second. Defensively, we are running Vlasic and Benning, Ferraro and Addison, Jacob McDonald, and Jan Rutta on that third pair. So it's a very bare bones roster. It's kind of what you expect with the San Jose Sharks, but in net, no, we do not have Cooper Kodiak up with the team. I have him on the roster, but he is with the AHL affiliate, the San Jose Barracuda. And you might be thinking, why the hell am I playing him there? It's because I need to develop the prospects, and I really want to get a high pick. I've been very clear in the past that I feel like goaltenders in the NHL, especially the most recent forms of EA Sports NHL, have been just voodoo. They have been magic beans. You could have a high franchise goalie who's 93 overall and he puts up like an 850 save percentage, or let's be more realistic, like an 885 save percentage throughout a season with a really high goals against average, and then you'll pull up a 79 overall goaltender. Look at our Montreal Canadiens series. If you haven't watched that, go check it out. Shameless self-plug aside. But you pull up a 79 overall goaltender, as we did with that Montreal Canadiens series in Caden Primo, and suddenly you have a Vezina nominee there. He is putting up non-stop saves and wins and some shutouts. It's very voodoo. Now, that being said, I didn't know of Cooper Kodiak being a high franchise 99 overall elite goaltender at 21 years old, who's also 6'9" with full zone abilities would actually stop the puck a lot and push this team potentially closer to a playoff spot. I feel like the roster itself would keep us out of the playoffs regardless, but I want that low pick because the Sharks were, as I said in the first video, on pace to finish as the worst team in the NHL. And as the time recording this video, they currently sit at 19 wins on the season with only one game remaining, and after getting shelled 9-1, I believe, against the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid going sicko mode, getting his 100th assist of the season, I don't think it's very out of this realm to confirm that maybe I was right in that first video and that they might not hit 20 wins on the season. So I want to try and replicate that as much as possible, and Cooper Kodiak will definitely sabotage that one way or another if he's playing on the NHL roster. As you can see, there are a lot of prospects here for the AHL club. Philip Biste, Thomas Borlow, Daniel Gushtin, as I said, in Ethan Cardwell, Graf, Lindblom not so much. We also have David Edstrom, who they just got in the Thomas Hurdle trade, Tristan Robbins, who I did bump up a bit, Brandon Coe. You know, there's a lot of forward prospects alone down here that you want to really solidify with a star goaltender. And then even defensively, they have Shakir Makamadulin and Jack Thompson, Artem Guryev, and Nikolai Nizov, who's still a decent prospect, and then Henry Thrun and Ty Emerson on that third pair, all of whom are technically close to NHL caliber. So you want to really solidify this rookie club who is looking to develop and become great with that show-stopping goaltender in Cooper Kodiak. That's my reasoning for this first year alone, putting him in the minors. And then, as I said, package that with the fact that I want a high draft pick. I want to kind of get to where the San Jose Sharks did finish with the 2023-2024 season. I think it's best to keep the youngsters and Cooper Kodiak down with the Barracuda and sim through the entirety of this first season in this episode. But let's not waste any more time. I'm rambling, I'm talking. I've had 4 monsters today, I think. So I'm going to sim through this season. I'm going to get probably to the trade deadline and then do a check-in with you guys, show you how the team is doing, show how our prospects are doing. I have no regard to make any trades in this first season. I kind of just want to get through it, and then at the draft is when we'll kind of take over as the general manager. Really, right now we're just going to be the coach. You know, we're just going to kind of take control of the minor affiliate, make sure that the Barracuda are doing well, and then past that we'll make sure the lines are well for the NHL club. At the draft, we'll take over the team. But for now, I will check in with you guys as we come up on the trade deadline and show you how everyone's doing. All right, and we are here at March 1st, just 1 week prior to the 2023-2024 NHL trade deadline, and our record is currently 18-36-4. And folks, you would not believe me if I told you it is almost impossible to replicate how bad the San Jose Sharks did in the real life NHL season. Oh my gosh, we are 1 win away from tying them with 20 games to go roughly. As you can see, through the entire first month of the season, we only picked up 1 win and 3 points total, with an extra shootout loss against the Carolina Hurricanes. Then, in the month of November, we actually went on a 6-game winning streak, starting against the Pittsburgh Penguins on November 4th and ending against the St. Louis Blues on November 16th. For almost two full weeks, we were unbeatable. And then we continued to pick up a few more wins against the Seattle Kraken, the Washington Capitals, and the Boston Bruins, before only picking up 1 entire win in the entire month of December and 3 wins in the entire month of January 2024. Or maybe 4 or 5 wins. I can't remember, I lost count. This team is spotty but terrible, but it's crazy to me that as bad as they're doing, the San Jose Sharks in real life did even worse. But this is our world now. We're not going to make any more comparisons to the real life NHL. This is our hockey universe. Now let's take a look at how the NHL and AHL clubs have done so far into the season. So our leading scorer and our leading forward is Philip Zadina with 41 points in 58 games, followed by Kevin LeBlanc at 38 points in 58 games, and Nico Sturm, of all people, with 37 points in 58 games. Then you got players like Zetterlund. You'd expect Mikael Granlund to be a little higher up there. He was getting first line ice time, but 35 points in 58 games is all he currently has. Barabanov was on the 4th line for a little bit, but he still has 31 points. It's pretty consistent production. I'm nervous about William Eklund, if I'm being completely honest. He does have that medium elite potential at 21, and I really don't want to stunt his growth. But I mean, I want to play him in the NHL. He played in the real life NHL. Again, I know it's our universe, but still, I want him to develop. Defensively, Kalen Addison has been a bright point. He has jumped up to an 82 overall, despite the team's current lack of success. Past that, there's not really much of anything, but there's still production nonetheless from the defensive core, which is a nice thing to see. And then the goaltenders, Mackenzie Blackwood and Vitek Vanacek, are both struggling. I mean, they both have 9 wins, but they both have roughly 19-20 losses on the season as well. No shutouts, of course. An .885 save percentage for Vitek Vanacek and an .890 save percentage for Mackenzie Blackwood. But I know you guys are not here to see how close I can replicate the San Jose Sharks roster. I know you guys are here to see the fun stuff. So let's look at the fun stuff, or at least the fun stuff in my opinion. So down in the AHL, it's not as high production as you would think, but it's still good sights. Ethan Cardwell leads AHL production for the San Jose Barracuda with 40 points in 53 games. He's up to a 78 overall. If you guys remember, he was a low elite potential. I did drop him down to a low top 6 because I didn't think that he was actually... I like to give low elite potentials quite often. It's fun sometimes if I see a prospect who could be really good, or had a really good rookie season, or had a really good junior campaign, I'll give him low elite potential. With this case, I decided that low top 6 was best, and he's still doing good. He's still 78 overall with individual attributes that I could utilize in the NHL, so it's good to see him. Daniel Gushtin is an example of a low elite player. He did great with the juniors, so I decided to give him the low elite, and he's doing pretty damn good as well. 39 points in 53 games. Bordelot with 38 and 53. Colin Graff with 35, up to an 80 overall. And again, you can see that low elite potential. I added him just before we started recording. He is a two-way forward, and I think that's pretty good. I think he's doing pretty damn good in my opinion. A lot of these players are doing fairly well. Some players that I want to see more production out of, like David Edstrom, Brendan Coe, I don't really mind too much. Defensively though, let's see what we're doing there. So Shakir Mukhamadullin currently has 33 points in 53 games. He has the medium top 4 potential, currently a top 6 role defender. So he could come up in the NHL, but I want him to develop as much as he can in the AHL. You also have Jack Thompson, 23 points in 53 games. Depth defender, low elite potential once again. I think this is going to be like a low elite franchise mode series, if anything. Nikolai Nizov with 21 points, Thrun with 19, Guriev with 16, and Emberson with 13. But now let's see how our star player has been performing. And I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous because it should be nothing but shutouts for Mr. Cooper Kodiak, especially being a 99 overall goaltender in the AHL. And that's what I mean. He has 1 shutout on the season, playing 33 games, 24 wins, 8 losses, 1 overtime loss, a .909 save percentage, and a .255 goals against average. Now, I will preface it with the fact, and the context is, he is playing in a simulation with high scoring and high shot frequency. So he is being pummeled by goals constantly, and a .909 save percentage in high shooting is actually pretty decent. I mean, I've seen a goalie win the Vezina Trophy with a .907 save percentage. So that's not too bad. I think for next season, I will drop it down to medium scoring so we can actually see the true potential of Cooper Kodiak. But for now, that's not too bad. I mean, hopefully we don't see any regression with him struggling in the AHL. I really highly doubt it though. Now, I will say that although we have a terrible record, we're only 4 points behind the Ottawa Senators for the worst team in the NHL. Yes, we currently hold the position, but not by that much. So I might sabotage the team a bit, I'm not sure. But I wanted to show you guys where we're going to be picking projectively, and I want to show you what's available. I have been scouting, I've set up my scouts, but when you start off a franchise mode series, depending on the team, usually you have pretty rough scouts. It's not until around year 2 free agency and year 2 offseason that you actually get offered some pretty decent scouts, mostly A's and B pluses, with their scouting accuracy or their scouting overall or whatever. But for the first few years, it's pretty slim pickings. As you can see though, Anton Saleyev is currently projected to go 1st overall. Our scouts think he's 2nd overall abilities. I think I might take him, if I'm honest. If I get the first overall pick, it's either him or Celebrini. Both of them I know are great. Anton Saleyev already confirmed to have that high elite potential, so you love to see that. Then you have some computer-generated players in Junior Vernaski, who definitely looks interesting, and Jeremy Duffy, again, another really interesting player for us. Past that, you have your real-life players such as Artem Levzhinov, Cole Eiserman, Ivan Demidov, Zane Parikh, Berkeley Cadden, you know, a lot of the same names that you recognize if you are following this year's NHL draft. So, I mean, there's a lot of good players. No matter what, we're going to hit pretty hard. We have quite a few picks in the first 2 rounds, so I don't think it's going to take too long, especially if we hit properly with our picks and with the prospects we currently have developing them. It's not going to take too long for this team to turn around. Not to mention we have a 99 overall goaltender locked up for about 5 or 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. Now, with everything caught up and everything out of the way, I'm not going to waste any more time. Once again, we're going to jump through the remaining 24 games of the season, see if we can finish as the bottom feeders. You know, I don't know if I necessarily want to come in the bottom place, 32nd overall. Usually you will miss out on the first overall pick, but even if we come in at second, there's still Macklin Celebrini or Anton Saleyev, depending on who the first overall team picks, although I would really like to have my free choice of who we will be picking first overall. But it all depends on how we finish off this last 24 games, so I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to sim through it, and I'll be back with you guys as we go through the postseason and offseason. All right, and the 2023-2024 NHL season is finished, and yes, no matter how hard we tried, even with a 6-game winning streak, if I'm not mistaken, right here, no, 5-game winning streak right here through the end of March, beginning of April, we did not climb up any higher. We finished as the worst ranked team by about 10 points, 10 points behind the Montreal Canadiens. We finished with 27 wins, 49 losses, and 6 overtime losses for a grand total of 60 points on the season. As we look at our stats leaders, there's one concern that has immediately risen, and that is a statistical growth from certain players, most notably Nico Sturm, who ended up finishing with 20 goals and 59 points in 82 games this season. Philip Zadina right behind him with 24 goals and 57 points. Even Fabian Zetterlund with 19 goals and 52 points. And Mikhail Granlund, well, I don't think we'll get any statistical growth out of him. Being an 84 overall, 52 points isn't too far off. But Barabanov and LeBlanc, we don't know, maybe they could. Even Mike Hoffman. There's been a lot of decent seasons for a lot of this team. You wouldn't expect it, but they actually did. Even Ryan Carpenter, 79 overall, playing 4th line minutes exclusively, finished with 31 points. Maybe, you know what, I'm going to say it. If our head coach was able to get this much production out of our lineup, I'm not going to move on from him when we bring in the big gun prospects. Not even a chance. But I do think we're going to have to prepare for some statistical bounces from players like Nico Sturm, Philip Zadina, and Fabian Zetterlund. Defensively, I don't think it's the same case. Maybe with Matt Benning, we'll see a little bit of statistical growth, or maybe Marc-Edouard Vlasic, but I highly doubt it. But our leading defensive scorer was Kalen Addison, and he actually had a superb season, playing 3rd pair minutes, notching 35 points, including 13 goals, and a -8 is very impressive, especially on a team that finished 10 points behind the next worst team in the league. And then a player that won't get any statistical growth, but definitely had a very impressive season when you take into account how badly the team performed in general, is Mackenzie Blackwood. 17 wins, 28 losses, 4 overtime losses, but he still notched a shutout and an .893 save percentage. As I said, we're on high scoring right now, and .893 is probably around league average. He did league average goaltending on the worst team in the NHL. That, in my opinion, is very impressive. But what I'm interested to see, though, is how the AHL club did. And it's quickly apparent they did well, but not crazy well. Ethan Cardwell finishes as the leading scorer for the AHL club with 31 goals and 55 points through 70 games. Thomas Bordelot behind him with 53 points, and Daniil Gushchin behind them with 50 points. And all of them had some growth. I mean, oh my gosh. Cardwell stayed at a 78. Thomas Bordelot up to an 81 third line scoring forward, looking great. Look at those individual attributes. Very well rounded. Very well rounded. And then we look at Daniil Gushchin. 20 goals, 30 assists, 50 points on the season, up to an 82 overall with great individual attributes, including a beautiful shot category. These players are all slotting into the lineup next season, no doubt. And then past that, Colin Graf, 80 overall, looking pretty damn special to me. Oscar Lindblom, he was an 80 overall, but there's not really much to look at there because he's already hit his ceiling. Tristan Robbins, 77 overall, another player that I dropped from a lower league to a top 9 potential. Still, with the individual attributes, especially the speed and aggression, he's going to get in some NHL ice time next season. Nathan Todd is another player we don't really have to worry about. Philip Bistay, 29 points in the season, jumping up to a 73, not too bad, including 22 goals out of the 29 points. Wow. David Edstrom with 28 points up to a 77. That's not bad. His individual attributes are pretty interesting. I mean, I'm not upset. Even though it wasn't like crazy production from some of these players, it was still good growth. And then defensively, we got Shakir McAmadoulan leading the way with 49 points in 70 games. He's actually up there. I think he's probably the 4th or 5th leading scorer on the team. 79 overall, top 6 defender. Yeah, he's ready for the NHL next season, as is Jack Thompson, no doubt, with 35 points, if I'm not mistaken, on the season. Very good production for the rookie. Then you got Nikolai Nizov, definitely going to make it in the lineup next season. I mean, we're going to be running a bare bones roster next season, mostly rookies. I'm still excited to see how we do. Henry Thron going to get some NHL ice time. Artem Guriev is even going to get NHL ice time. All of these guys are depth defenders. The only one who can't really grow is Ty Emerson, but I still think he might get some NHL ice time. Very good. But now, let's see how the Bear did in his first season in the Pro Hockey Leagues. And you know what? Not too bad. As I said, we have high scoring on. You have to remember that around league average about 895, maybe 890. He finished with a 909 save percentage, 32 wins in 45 games played, 11 losses, 1 overtime loss, and 3 shutouts with a 254 goals against average. If you know NHL, EA Sports NHL, and you're familiar with doing the high scoring franchise mode sims, you'll know that that's pretty impressive numbers. But as I said, in the next season, we will drop it down to medium scoring so we can see what Cooper Kodiak can fully accomplish. He is now 22 years old, 99 overall goaltender, made 1,132 saves this season for the San Jose Barracuda. Very, very impressive season. And also for anyone interested, this is how the league standings went. You can see the Carolina Hurricanes absolutely popped off with 51 wins on the season. Even though the Edmonton Oilers finished with 52 wins on the season, they fell still about 5 points back of the Carolina Hurricanes for the President's Trophy. Very interesting. It's got to be the pity points for the Hurricanes. There is a few things notable to me. As we go down through these standings, you'll see that a few teams that you'd expect to make the playoffs, and if you're following the season, have actually made the real life playoffs, didn't, such as the Washington Capitals. They barely squeaked in. The Calgary Flames didn't make it in real life, but did in this simulation. But another team didn't make it, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs. They fell short of the postseason. But the one that's most interesting to me is further down the list here at 25th in the league, the Pittsburgh Penguins, finishing 36-40-6 on the season. And that's great news for us because we do have, if I'm not mistaken, their first round pick. Let's sim though to the draft lottery and see what happens. We'll see who wins the Stanley Cup in this first year as well. And interestingly enough, cutting in before we got to the draft lottery, I wanted to see how the Barracuda did, and we just got knocked out of the second round of the AHL Calder Cup playoffs. Pretty shocking, but I don't know how a 99 overall goaltender isn't putting up shutout after shutout. But here it is, folks, your Stanley Cup champions for the 2023-2024 NHL season is a Canadian team for the first time since 1993, and it is the Vancouver Canucks for the first time in franchise history. You love to see that. The Calder Cup champions are the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. So Pittsburgh does have something to be excited about. Now, how do we do in the draft lottery? Ooh, okay. We do secure the first overall pick. Chicago jumps from 5th to 2nd. Montreal falls from 2nd to 3rd. Buffalo falls from 3rd to 4th. Arizona 4th to 5th. Columbus stays at 6th. And then we have the 8th overall pick as well. The one that we got from the Pittsburgh Penguins. That is beautiful. I wish that could have jumped up if we had the 1st and 2nd overall pick. Oh, that would have been beautiful. But this is such a deep and packed draft. Getting the 1st overall pick, amazing. Getting 2 picks in the top 10, even better. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what we can do with these picks now. Let's see what the draft class holds for us. So as you can see, Macklin Celebrini has now jumped over Anton Slayev, projected to go first overall. We don't know anything about him, but that's because he is an NCAA player, but he's Canadian, so the computer really doesn't know what to do with him, so they put him in rest of world, and I didn't set up a scout there, but I know that if I'm not mistaken, he is high elite potential as well. Anton Slayev, we already know, high elite potential. He looks great grades, NHL ready. Brent Burns comparison, oh, you love to see that. I'm honestly at a loss for who I'm going to pick first overall. I'm not even lying. Yes, a game-breaking player like Macklin Celebrini, you would love it, but Anton Salayev, if we can add to our defensive core, I mean, we have William Eklund, we have Thomas Borlo, Daniel Gushchin, we have Colin Graff, we have so many players that can slot into that forward core already. We don't have much in the way of defenders. Adding that groundbreaking defender in Anton Salayev would be amazing, especially considering we could still pick up a superstar prospect at 8th with Ivan Demidov, possibly even Cole Eiserman or Berkeley Catton. Then again, there's also Zane Parik. I don't remember though if I made him medium elite or if I made him a high top 4. He definitely should be a medium elite, but oh, it's going to be hard to decide. One player that I did honestly forget to update was Zeke William. He should be a medium elite for sure, but you know what? I think we're gonna hit. I think we're gonna hit really hard, regardless of who we pick in this first round. I think we actually have. Yes, we have 3 first-round picks, if I'm not mistaken. No, we have 2 first-round picks. This is just our second-round pick that it's projecting, and even then, we have the second-round pick, which is like a late first-round pick. We have so many opportunities to strike here. We just gotta make sure we do it properly. Now here we are at the 2024 NHL entry draft, and I want to take a look at how our team is shaping up, and I'm going to use a little trick that you guys may not know in order to do it. So what you want to do in order to look at how your trade values are before you go into the draft and possibly even make trades before entering the draft, but on draft day, is you go to your player stats. And a quick side note, as you can see, Nico Sturm has jumped to an 83 overall already. But we'll click on our player stats here, and it doesn't matter who you pick, it doesn't matter what you do, you select your top player, whatever, and you go to trade for asset. Now this will bring you to the trade screen. It's going to load slowly for me because I am playing on a old gen console currently, because that's the only one I feel comfortable traveling with. Now that'll bring you to this trade screen, and the biggest, I would say, cheat about using this little trick that I have is that the trade values for draft picks and sometimes even players don't jump. Okay, so let's say there was a team that just barely missed the playoffs. I mean, like they're 15th and they're projected to pick 15th or whatever, and then they win the draft lottery and they jump and they get the first, second, or third overall pick. The trade value for that pick would still be around what it was at the trade deadline, not the actual value of a first, second, or third overall pick. For instance, you can see here, the Montreal Canadiens are picking 3rd overall. Their trade value is coming in just under the middle of the U in the word trade value. But as you can see, the Chicago Blackhawks jumping from 5th to 2nd, their trade value on that pick is just past the A in the word's trade value. So it's a lower value pick, even though it's one higher than what the Montreal Canadiens are selecting. Now, I've seen teams before that had a pick that was around like middle of the table value, and it was the 1st overall pick that you could easily acquire because their blocks don't update either. So if they were looking to trade their 1st round pick, even though they were not really a playoff competitive team at the trade deadline, they'd still be looking to trade their 1st round pick on this screen, even if it's the 1st overall pick. But enough of this trick aside, I don't have too much time to waste. Let's look at how our team specifically is looking. So if we sort by overall, you can see right off the bat, the players that I was worried about getting statistical growth all got statistical growth. I can barely say that word right. I'm stumbling and stuttering. I've had a long day. But Nico Sturm did jump to an 83 overall. He is still just a 3rd checking line forward. I do love his individual attributes. They all are looking great and well-rounded, as well as Philip Zadina jumping as well to an 83 overall. He's got really good individual attributes. The only places that I'm a little concerned are physical and especially his defensive, but his skating, his senses, and his shot, beautiful. We could use him next season if we decide to keep him. If not, then we'll move him. And then Fabian Zetterlund also jumping up to an 83. All of them 3rd checking line forwards, aside from Zadina, who's the 3rd scoring line forward, so that's pretty positive. But even Fabian Zetterlund in that defensive category, bueno. Everything else is looking pretty well-rounded and great to me. Past that, Kevin LeBlanc jumped up to an 83, as did Alexander Barabanov. Logan Couture did not take any drop. He just went to a third line scoring forward instead of a second line scoring forward, and that's simply not because of anything that he did this season, but because the overall grades throughout the season have gone up. So what was an 83 overall projecting to be a second line forward is now an 83 overall, who is a third checking or scoring line forward, simply because everyone's overalls have gone up, maybe because of scoring, maybe because prospects are set a little higher. I find that this is a better way of doing it. But Logan Couture is an 83. Barabanov doesn't have a contract, so his trade value is nil, but he does have good individual attributes. And then Kevin LeBlanc, again, doesn't have a contract past this season. His individual attributes are good. If we're looking to bring them back, I think we might. But past that, William Eklund is our top prospect currently, 82 overall, medium elite, third scoring line forward. Looks pretty good to me. I'm not going to waste too much time on this, but we can see that some players have grown. Colin Graff looks great. Luke Kunin is an 81 overall. Thomas Bordeleau, I really just want to see if anyone had a potential boost. We know that we're signing Will Smith, so that's great. Doesn't look like anybody really did have a potential boost, not even Ethan Cardwell with his great season. I mean, that's not too much of a shock to me. We do have players like Cam Lund and Quentin Musty as well coming up. Quentin Musty looking absolutely great. You'd love to see that great shot category for him. But yeah, no, I'm loving this. Even Igor Remashevsky looks pretty damn good to me. I'm loving all of this. Defensively, let's see what we're looking at here. Kalen Addison, I thought we might get a bit of a potential boost from him to a high top 4, but he still remains at a medium top 4, 83 overall. So he is tied for our top defender on the team. He is definitely going to be a good puck mover for us. Past that, I mean, we do have Shakir Mukhamadullin coming up. Nobody else really jumped. Jack Thompson looks good. Nizov looks good. Guriev. But this is what I mean by saying we need to add some prospects on the defensive side. Luka Cagnani looks great. He could be a great offensive piece for us on the back end, but we don't have a game-breaking prospect back here. Addison's great. Mukhamadulin's great. I want a medium elite defenseman. That's why I might lean toward picking Anton Saleyev with our first pick in this year's draft. And although I was worried about it, my worries have been settled. Cooper Kodiak does not even drop in potential or overall. He's still 99 overall, high franchise elite goaltender. So you love to see that. He finished with a 910 save percentage and a 248 goals against average with 4 shutouts. My God, he did good. But that is going to be it for this episode. I think we got a lot of progress made. I know we didn't really do much of anything. We kind of just went through the season, looked at the stats. I know that might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I really wanted to get to the end of the season and get really to a good jumping point for this series. I mean, this first draft here is going to be crucial. We have a good pipeline of prospects as it is. Not amazing, not really like groundbreaking prospects, but a really good solid pipeline, especially of forward prospects, not so much of defensive prospects. So I think we're at a good point here, especially with this first draft, as deep as it is, to make a good impact. We can also make some trades now. We are taking over that role as the general manager. So you guys let me know in the comments who you think we should move on from, and who do you think we should take first overall. I'm not gonna lie, I'm leaning toward Anton Saleyev, because I want that monstrous high elite defender on the back end. If we can, I'm not gonna lead you guys astray. If I can move up and get both Saleyev and a top 5 pick as well, moving that Pittsburgh Penguins pick up, I will do that. 100% I will move that pick up if it means us slamming with both of our first round picks and adding a superstar prospect forward as well. But I'm leaning toward Anton Saleyev. You guys let me know what you think. If you think we should go with Macklin Celebrini instead, I mean, you can't really go wrong. 2 high elite potential players, either a high elite 6'7" defender or a high elite superstar prospect who just won the Hobie Baker in real life, as I believe the youngest player to ever do so. You can't really go wrong. You can't be led astray there. But you guys let me know what we should be doing. I think this is a great place. Even though we didn't do anything, as I said in this episode, this is a great place to leave off at. In the next one, we will go through the draft, and I will go through free agency. Usually I don't like to go through the draft and free agency in the same episode, because if there's good players available in free agency. I like to get your guys' feedback, but I will be starting to do bulk recordings. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to kind of record and wait for your guys' feedback. It is part of the problem leading to the content not coming out on time, or the lack of content coming out, because I won't bulk record as I used to do, and I'll back up a bit. I'll begin to get clogged, like, oh, I gotta do this episode and I have to edit it. Now if I have to record and edit every day, it slows things down. So I will say that I'll probably be bulk recording with most of this series coming up. I'm sorry, it's just the way things are. Don't be afraid though to leave your input. I will still see it, and if I think it's good enough input, like if it's like, oh my gosh, you're absolutely correct, maybe I should go back, I will probably go back and re-record an episode. I have no fear of doing that, but I'm not going to ramble. I'm not going to waste any more time. If you guys are here this far in the video, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you seem to like it, so why don't you hit that like button down below. I'm also very sorry for stumbling and stuttering as much as I have been. I've been trying to get content going for so long. I've been working really hard with this new training position, and it's my brain's fried. Okay, my brain is just fried. But thank you guys so much for joining me on this adventure as we went through the first season with the San Jose Sharks. If you like this video, please leave a like down below and let me know the type of content you want to see more of. If you really like it, then why not consider subscribing, okay? You can do it for a 30-day free trial basis. If you don't like it after 30 days, unsubscribe. It's free of charge. I mean, it's free either way, but it's fun to do so. If you do like the content, please make sure you hit like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments who you would pick with this first overall draft pick and what changes you think the Sharks should make. I mean, we got Will Smith, we got William Eklund, we got some pretty good prospects on the forward core already, as well as Quentin Musty, Colin Graf, Daniil Gushchin. I think it's time to add a superstar defender in Anton Sileyev.